Understand.
The Republican Party
Is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
During Obama's presidency, the House voted to repeal or amend the Affordable Care Act more than 50 times since it was passed in October 2009. But now that they essentially took control of the entire government in the 2016 elections, they've barely been able to get Trump care off the ground. That hasn't stopped them from trying, though. A lot. This week, probably by the time we release this episode, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican, of course, Kentucky, will have pushed again for a Senate vote on Trump care. Except no one seems clear which version they'll be voting on, or if they're voting to just repeal Obamacare without even bothering to replace it. At the end of the day, whatever version passes, there are a few probable consequences. 1. People will lose health coverage. Statistically speaking, it will most likely be the at-risk populations like children, the elderly, the poor, people with special needs. You know, the people relying on that coverage to stay alive. Which leads to 2. Another possibility that some of those people are gonna just die. 3. A bunch of people who never have to worry about healthcare will get tax cuts. 4. Once the insurance market uncertainty levels off after the turbulence caused by Trump's erratic behavior and Congress's inability to pass anything meaningful, they'll start making money and probably cover less of their expensive customers if they don't have a government gun to their heads. 5. Some of those people will probably die. 6. Women who rely on their coverage to pay for contraception, annual exams, cancer screening and treatment may find themselves with none of those things. 7. Some of them will probably die. When I chose the, albeit edited, clip at the beginning of the Broadside, I was flippantly making a connection between a soulless, ruthless, relentless killing machine and the Terminator. The Republican Party, the GOP, the party that fancies itself pro-life, has become a tax-funded 21st century murder machine. The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq have bled across borders in the Middle East, so aside from the casualties directly caused by U.S. military operations, we have no end of refugees dying while fleeing their unstable and bomb-blasted homelands. Their continued insistence on prosecuting a war on drugs, which Jeff Sessions has made noises about escalating, has cost untold lives, ranging from the dealers whose deaths are gleefully cheered, to the innocents caught in crossfire, to addicts who go untreated because it's a moral failing to use drugs, but apparently not to consume alcohol or tobacco. Their insistence on abstinence-only sexual education has helped spread disease and increase unplanned pregnancies, some of which have ended in abortions, by ensuring that American youth remain uneducated about their bodies. They do this in conjunction with applying every legal maneuver possible to outlaw abortion, which usually just means targeting Planned Parenthood, thus ensuring an increase in the aforementioned pregnancies, STIs, and teen parents on welfare because of reduced access to clinical information, contraception, and health screenings. Speaking of welfare, the Republican Party has been a huge proponent of getting, quote, welfare queens off the public tit and working minimum wage jobs to reduce the drain on our budget, as long as those welfare queens aren't corporations that are getting tax cuts and government handouts. Now that I've mentioned corporations, let's not forget the Republican cries to free businesses from those job-killing regulations, like those silly work safety rules that prevent employee killing, the product safety rules that prevent child killing, and the environmental ones that prevent water and air poisoning. And while we're on the subject of the environment, let's remember they're the party of climate change denial and fossil fuel company fellatio. So the world may eventually look like the blistered outback of a Mad Max sequel, but with all the other shit listed above, most of us will probably already be dead by that point. And that's just a handful of the general party policies. I'm not even going to get into Trump's specific things, like his method of pissing off our allies, tweeting inflammatory shit about a nuclear-armed dictator, and his cozy romantic relationship with, well, a nuclear-armed dictator. Look, for fuck's sake, whether by accident or design, the modern Republican Party has finally reached the point with the election of Donald Trump and the drive to pass a wealth care bill. They've stopped pretending they give a single fuck about anyone but themselves and their bank accounts. But it still hasn't sunk in. Trump's approval rating, somewhere in the mid-30s, depending on the polling agency, is the lowest of any president in 70 fucking years. But in counties he won in the 2016 election, he still has a 50% approval rating. 50 fucking percent. How is that number not near zero everywhere?
How stupid are the people of the country to believe this crap?
I recognize that none of this shit is news to our audience. In 23 episodes, hundreds of Facebook posts and tweets, and a handful of written blog posts, we've touched each of these things and more. But I cannot adequately stress to you how much we need to get this message across to Republicans. Their continued support of the Republican Party makes them accomplices. While we recognize large corporate donors have wrested control of Republican policy from the party itself, Republicans can't keep getting voted into positions of power if people don't vote for them. If people can recognize that voting Republican is not only against their best interests, it may actually kill people they know and love. If they can understand that progressive ideas and policies aren't going to destroy America but can actually make their lives better, then maybe the bloodthirsty Republican Party can finally do the honorable thing and kill itself.